someone is smiling, it means they're happy, right? Well, not always. Sometimes people smile to be polite or because they want to appear happy or friendly for social reasons. How easy it is to spot which smiles are genuine and which are fake. Biologists and psychologists have spent years working to understand how and when different facial expressions are made, and how others interpret those expressions. By studying people who have had strokes or other brain injuries, scientists now know that these are two parts of the brain that control smiling. The motor cortex controls voluntary motions of the face, meaning motions done consciously and on purpose. When a person wants to smile for social reasons, he or she uses the motor cortex of their brain to do so. However, spontaneous emotionally driven smiles are triggered by very different parts of the brain called the cingulate cortex. Therefore, as long as the cingulate cortex is intact, a person who has had a stroke that affects his or her motor cortex can still grin at a good joke. Although the smiles initiated by the brain's motor cortex do a good job of copying the emotional smiles initiated by the cingulate cortex, research shows that the two types of smiles are very different if one knows what to look for. The first person to define some of these differences was the French neurologist Guillaume Deschamps. He was able to show that a genuine smile not only resulted in the upward movement of the mouth muscles, but also was attributed to the zygomatic major muscle, but also caused a movement in the muscle around the eyes, which is due to the orbicularis oculi. The activation of the orbicularis oculi muscle has the effect of wrinkling in lines around the eyes and an upward pulling of the cheeks. However, the fake emotionless smile from the motor cortex results in movement of the zygomatic major, but not the orbicularis oculi. Therefore, genuine smiles are often referred to as the Duchenne smiles. Researchers in the 20th century have also noted that the Duchenne smiles, the faces is generally symmetrical, whereas in a non-Duchenne smile or a smirk, only one side of the mouth lifts. Duchenne smiles also have smoother transitions, and non-Duchenne smiles often begin or end abruptly. Finally, the length of time a smile lasts is under key indicator, where genuine smiles usually last between 0.5 and 4 seconds, and non-Duchenne smiles last either less than 0.5 seconds or longer than 4 seconds. The purpose of this project is to determine whether certain factors, including age, sex, the type of day a subject is having, and the subject's confidence level, are related to the ability to differentiate between a fake and a real smile. My theory is that the older the participant and the more confident they are, the more likely they are to be able to determine the type of smile. I do not think that sex or the type of day a person is having will have any effects on the results. The study involved watching 20 short videos of people smiling. The volunteer participants then decided which smiles were fake and which smiles were genuine. The volunteers recorded their answers on a provided Google form. The correct answers were revealed as soon as the participant submitted each answer. At the onset of the experiment, the volunteer was to be asked to record their age, what kind of day they were having, good or bad, and a prediction as to how they will score prior to the onset of the test. The purpose of this experiment is to assess the correlation between the score and age, the type of day the subject is having, and their degree of confidence. This study is being conducted for the purpose of the analysis of these factors to be present at the Bay Area Science and Engineering Fair. In the results, we can see a direct correlation between mood and score from graph 1 as the lines move together. However, 64.3% did not think mood had an effect on score. Interestingly, the most common mood was 8 out of 10. Very low moods have the lowest scores on the data table. Furthermore, we noted that we had almost twice as many consent forms as we had completed surveys. suggesting that those that were having a low mood or were too busy and stressed out did not find the time or state of mind to try the study, and that these volunteers would not have scored very well on the test. Perhaps there were some that were nervous about the idea of taking a test of their ability to detect real smiles and choose not to participate out of anxiety, and would also have had a low mood and a low score. Now, this is shown in the first graph here and is also shown on the second graph here. The best scores were ages 15 to 60. Younger than 15 and over 60 did not perform well. The highest near perfect scores were between 30 and 40. Perhaps this group of adults is most tuned into social cues, as it may be important for them being in the job force and likely having children, where it may be critical to be able to accurately make these kinds of social judgments. This is shown in the graph here. There was not much accuracy between the guess scores and the actual scores, and only 4 out of 41 participants actually were able to correctly guess their scores. It should also be noted that the overconfident guesses of scores between 19 to 20 underperformed. However, the underconfident guesses of scores did better than they thought. The best and most accurate guesses were attributed to more realistic guesses between 14 and 18. It can be concluded that overconfidence does not improve the individual's actual score. There's no significant difference between male and female ability, since there were a few more females in the cohort. In summary, it can be concluded from this study that there is no gender difference in predicting accurate smiles. The middle age group has the best scores on this study. Mood plays a significant role in the detection of real smiles, although participants don't believe it is a significant factor. And finally, overconfidence, one's ability on this test resulted in the poor scores. Future studies in this field should involve more participants, with more representatives from each age group. It would also be beneficial to study the performance of differentiated real and fake smiles after a short lesson of Duchenne and non-Duchenne smiles, so that participants know what to look for. Also, this study points to the importance of learning social cues and raises the question as to whether the study of smiles and other human body language cues should be introduced in school curriculum, as it seems to come naturally to some and not to others. And all should be given a fair chance to interpret those around us in social interactions. If polled, the teenage student body would most likely be very interested to learn about real and fake smiles and other body language cues, since their social interactions with peers and family have such a massive impact on their development. The older generation may also benefit from these studies.